It's game day. The wait is finally over. Football is here in the Charm City as we have week number 1 of the preseason of the National Football League. Your Baltimore Ravens set to square off against the Philadelphia Eagles tonight. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Ravens Rundown. Joey Peterson going to join me in just a moment. These two teams don't see each other too often in the regular season, but a nice regional battle, if you will, between these two. Philly, a 1.5-point favorite, the over-under at 34.5. We will not see Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry tonight, but you better believe we'll still see plenty of talent and a lot of intriguing things to look at here into tonight's matchup. We'll tell you all about it here in just a moment, but first, we are battling Eagles now in a sub-battle for tonight's game, as we've been battling all week long to see who can pick up the most subscribers this week. Eagles now with a slight edge entering tonight's matchup with 110 new subscribers. Ravens Rundown at 95. For daily Baltimore Ravens news and rumors, for our watch party that we're going to bring you later on tonight, live shows, Q&A mailbags, breaking news, and more. You got to subscribe now to the channel. Let's take it to Eagles now, win this sub-battle, and we'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with the offensive line as Joey joins me right now. Joey, the offensive line has been the story of the offseason, the biggest question mark for the Baltimore Ravens, and tonight I feel like we're going to get a lot of answers, if you will, on where this offensive line is at right now, and there's some changes, some big changes to note going into tonight as well.
I think what's interesting is usually with offensive line, you have one or two things to maybe look at. I think you have 4 players to keep your eye on tonight. It starts with Andrew Voorhees filling in that left guard spot. He's been doing phenomenal. He's had a really strong camp. Of course, he was the guy towards ACL at his combine. We were able to snag him in the 7th round. He would have been a second, third-round pick if not. He's had a great camp. He'll start at that left guard position. Ben Cleveland, he's the guy to keep your eye on. He's been taking snaps at the center position. With Tyler Linderbaum dealing with a soft tissue injury, Ben Cleveland's been taking the snaps at that center position. Daniel Fa'alele, you'll see him at right guard tonight. He's a guy to keep your eye on as well because, as we know, right guard has kind of been a question mark throughout this whole offseason. Connor Williams, maybe we were going to bring him in, fill in that right guard spot. He ended up signing with the Seahawks. Daniel Fa'alele will be there tonight. And then Roger Rosengarten, second-round pick in this 2024 NFL Draft. We'll see him at that right tackle spot. I don't know if he'll be starting. I think it's going to be Patrick McCarry. But we'll see him tonight, so a good guy to keep on the watch for as well.
Yeah, Rosengarten believed to be one of the future key pieces of this offensive line. Be great to see him make his debut, but Ben Cleveland playing some of the center spot with Linderbaum out right now. You miss out on Connor Williams. He heads to Seattle. And for Ben Cleveland, obviously he's competing to try to win that starting right guard spot. But if he can show some versatility to step in at that center position, then that's going to go a long way for him, not just making the roster, but also proving to be a pivotal piece to earn some playing time with positional flexibility.
Yeah, the best ability is availability. Ben Cleveland's shown he's available. The second best ability is versatility, especially on those inside offensive line position, those interior offensive linemen. If you can be moved around all over this offensive line, you're an asset, and he's going to be an asset to this team tonight.
What do you got? You going with the Ravens or are you going with the Eagles? The Ravens have been the best team in the NFL over the years when it comes to winning these preseason games. Only one preseason loss in recent memory. That was to the Washington Commanders last year. They set the record for most consecutive preseason wins. Do they get it done tonight? Type BAL for Baltimore. Type PHI for Philadelphia. Weigh in. Let us know in our pinned comment today. Number 2, Joey, let's talk about the wide receiver room separation. You bring in Russell Gage this week, and he jumped right in, got right involved when it came to training camp. But now trying to figure out not only who makes the roster, but who deserves the playing time. We should learn a lot here in these preseason games beginning tonight.
I think we will, and I think this is going to be the biggest thing that we're going to learn over these 3 preseason games. Okay, what's this wide receiver depth chart look like? The way I look at it right now, you got 4 locks. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Walker. Those 4 guys are pretty much guaranteed to make this roster. Other than that, you've got guys fighting for spots. I think 3 guys we want to keep our eye on tonight: Russell Gage, Malik Cunningham, Tylan Wallace. Russell Gage obviously signed him earlier this week. Man, it's been a crazy week. That was a signing on Tuesday. He's going to step in. Can he fight for maybe even that wide receiver 3 spot? Malik Cunningham, quarterback, turned wide receiver. He's turning some heads in training camp. He's a guy to keep your eye on. And Tylan Wallace, he's had a really solid camp as well. Scored a couple touchdowns here and there. I'm excited to see some separation from the top guys in this wide receiver room and the bottom, and get a little bit more clarity about what we might be going into September with.
Well, and you look at these 3 guys, they've all had their moments, right? We've seen Russell Gage have several seasons with over 700 yards. Malik Cunningham, quite the athlete, still learning the wide receiver position, but he's ahead of schedule. And then Tylan Wallace, he was a star at Oklahoma State, one of the best receivers in college football, comes to the Ravens and never quite found his footing, if you will, but he's been very dynamic in special teams. We all remember the walk-off punt return touchdown he had in overtime against the Rams last year. So you've seen it, bits and pieces with these guys, but who's going to step up when the lights shine bright at that role?
I really think it might be Russell. I think it might be Tylan as well. Deonte Harty, he's a guy to think about. I don't know if he's going to be playing tonight. He's been in and out of practice this entire training camp. He practiced 3 days ago, didn't practice 2 days ago. And so I would not be surprised if we didn't see him tonight. He's a guy that would be on this list if he had been practicing, but he hasn't. And so these 3 guys are guys to keep a look on. I'm really excited to see Russell Gage. I'm really excited to see what he's got and see if he's going to be an asset to this team as kind of a late summer signing.
Who's going to get the most receptions tonight? Will it be Russell Gage? Will it be Malik Cunningham? Or will it be Tylan Wallace? Type RG for Russell Gage, MC for Malik Cunningham, TW for Tylan Wallace. Weigh in the comment section and let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the best place to go for last-minute tickets for the best seats and the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. Here's how it works. Maybe you want to go to tonight's game, right? Still have an opportunity to do so. Check out the events listed, whether it's a Ravens game, Orioles game, whatever it may be. Choose the seat you want, see if you like that seat or not, and then you're checking out just like that, whether it's Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. That includes tonight's game as well. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Let's continue now with Nate Wiggins making his debut. And I got to tell you, we are so excited to see what Nate Wiggins can bring to the table to this Baltimore Ravens team. He has been one of the biggest topics of conversation, if you will, throughout this offseason for the 30th overall pick out of Clemson. He's competing to be one of those starting corners. I like what I've seen from Nate Wiggins. Now let's see what he does on this stage tonight, making his debut for the flock.
I think it's twofold with Nate Wiggins. First, I'm really excited to see him because you're always excited to see your first-round draft pick. That's just going to happen every single year. You're going to be excited to see the guy you put the biggest investment in. But the other thing that's interesting is when that unofficial depth chart came out earlier this week, he was listed behind Jalen Armour-Davis. Now, I don't think he's behind Jalen Armour-Davis, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays.
He's a rookie, and they're making him earn it.
Yes.
Which is typical for John Harbaugh. They're not just going to hand out anything, but there's still plenty of time between now and when that first depth chart is released when the season begins. But, Joey, what does Zach Orr have to say about Nate Wiggins here this week?
Yeah, Zach Orr has only had great things to say about Nate Wiggins. This is what he said about him a week ago at training camp. Nate, he's a heck of a football player, and he's an instinctive player. So you don't want to take that away from him. But you just continue to just try to tell him to play within the system. He has a natural ability, so he's going to make his fair share of plays by doing his job, which he's done out here so far in camp. And Tyler, what I'm most excited is to see kind of a different kind of cornerback in the system. A cornerback who can run a sub 4.3 40.
Yes, he is lightning quick and is going to bring a whole nother element to that cornerback room, to say the least. Certainly excited to see his speed there on full display as far as that goes when it comes to Nate Wiggins there. Let's talk about the quarterback 2 situation. And it is, we mentioned, no Lamar Jackson tonight. Didn't play the entire preseason last year, so that's not a surprise. There's no need for Lamar to play in the preseason. And so you got Josh Johnson and Devin Leary competing for that QB2 spot. Josh Johnson looked really good in the preseason last year there for the Baltimore Ravens. Now we get to see how he and Leary shape up. We've been saying for the last several weeks that in a perfect world, the Ravens are in a situation where Devin Leary plays well and takes the QB2 job away from Josh Johnson, because you don't want to have to give up on a 6th-round pick already, and you don't want to have to carry 3 quarterbacks. Will either of these 2 guys be convincing enough where they just keep 2 on the roster? I'm looking at a situation, Joey, what I think is going to happen, one of 2 things. Either we see Josh Johnson play really well and clearly identify himself as the QB2, and Devin Leary struggles, and then they don't feel too bad about releasing Devin Leary and maybe potentially putting him on the practice squad. Or Devin Leary plays good enough where you say, all right, let's go with the young cat, no pun intended, him being from Kentucky, and move on from Josh Johnson here. I think that's the type of 2 scenarios you're looking at. You don't want to have to carry 3 quarterbacks, but I think it's one of those 2 situations here for Baltimore.
I think so as well. I think I'd give the edge to Josh Johnson at this point. He's just been in the system longer. Like you said, he balled out last preseason. I expect to kind of see the same thing happen this preseason. Devin Leary's had an up-and-down camp. He's had an up-and-down collegiate career, right? Yeah. He had highs of highs, transferred to Kentucky, had a lot of lows last year. Really interesting college career, and he's had an interesting past couple weeks. He's had really good days. He's had really good bad days. And I'm excited to see kind of what he does tonight in live NFL game action.
Who ends up as the QB2 for the Ravens? Will it be Josh Johnson or will it be Devin Leary? Type JJ for Josh Johnson. Type DL for Devin Leary. Weigh in the comments section and let us know what you think. Last on our list we got to talk about is Trenton Simpson. And Trenton Simpson replacing Patrick Queen. He's got big shoes to fill. He's been very good throughout the offseason. It seemed like that he turned a corner in that Week 18 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. Now it's time for him to really just continue. It's a whole different world going from practices to live game action. And tonight is our first real glimpse to see how quickly he's come along in this role.
I think this is going to be one of the biggest storylines of this season. When you lose a guy like Patrick Queen, a guy that got you 133 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, and an interception last year. 133 tackles last year. When you lose a guy like that, that's a big loss for your team. I don't care what team you are. And so will Trenton Simpson be able to come back and fill that gap? I don't know. I think tonight might be a good indication of that. I think he's capable of doing that. And I think with a guy like Roquan Smith to the right of him, manning that defense, leading that defense, I think that's going to help a whole lot. But I'm really excited to see how this ends up because you lose one of the best linebackers in football. But, of course, Trenton Simpson might be the guy to fill that hole.
Well, and you bring up a good point with Roquan Smith here. I think people have these short-term memories when it comes to Patrick Queen and tend to forget that Patrick Queen didn't play that great until Roquan Smith showed up. And Roquan Smith took the lead role in that linebacker room, and that made the job a lot easier for Patrick Queen, and that's when we saw Patrick Queen really step into that Pro Bowl level and have the best season of his career last year. It wasn't until that he was playing alongside Roquan Smith. I think Trenton Simpson, it is the best thing for him that he gets to play alongside the best linebacker in all of football in Roquan Smith. That's going to make life a lot easier, going to make these growing pains, if you will, hurt a little less, and him come along quicker, playing along Roquan Smith is going to make that situation for him go a lot more smoothly, a lot more easier. And tonight, without Roquan Smith there, I can't imagine we're going to see hardly any of Roquan Smith. This is his time to kind of show what he can do on his own.
I agree, and I think going back to your point, having Roquan Smith there, that's going to help so much because you're not asking Trenton Simpson to come in here, start for a full year in the NFL, run this defense. You're not asking him to be the leading tackler. You're not asking him to be the leading sack guy. You're asking him, hey, do your job. And I think he's good enough to do his job.
You're asking him not to be Batman. You're asking him to be Robin, and that's fine. And if he can do that Robin role fine, he'll be in great shape. Will Trenton Simpson have over 100 tackles this year? What do you guys think? Type O for over, U for under. Weigh in the comment section. Let us know. Thanks for joining us here on Ravens Rundown. Won't be the last time you see us today, as we'll be live later tonight for the Ravens and Eagles watch party live right here on Ravens Rundown. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/RavensTV, and we'll see you later tonight here on the channel.